What would happen?
Why would happen? Well, okay. Real life wise, I'm fine. I'm great.
Okay. All right.
The sports fandom side of things has not been kind to me for the last 10 days. Whenever
Years.
Jason Dominguez, yes, I'm talking about the immediacy of today, right now. But yes, for a long time, I really haven't been that happy on that end of
Bro,
things. No,
listen, the Tom Brady tears his leg a year coming off an 18-1 season. We didn't have no number 2 overall pick just waiting in the wings to take over for him. Like, you guys, an embarrassment of riches is the New York Jets. That's what everyone's saying right now.
I think you should keep this in the show just to get the still
Let's go
shot of the
on
look on my
staying in
face.
for sure.
Just to get the look on my face, because buddy, if looks could kill.
I don't even understand all like the calling around asking, do we have other quarterbacks available? Like, you give them more than enough.
No, they don't. But also, if the quarterback is available, you really shouldn't want him. Like, I feel like that should go without saying. Like, yeah, let's get Jameis. Okay, that'll work. Yeah,
That'd be very
that'll work.
funny. Very
Yeah,
funny.
for you.
All the
And for
options are
everybody
well.
else,
That's the thing.
yes.
All the options are very funny. Like, I haven't heard one option where it's like that makes sense. Like, I'm excited for what the year 2042. Arch Manning tears his Achilles, and they're like, Cap's out there. It's like, what? What do you mean? How long are we gonna do this? Like, I don't disagree. 4 years ago, 3 years ago, even don't disagree at all.
Listen, man.
It's been like 7 fucking years.
Cap got fucked. We all know. Well,
Big fuck.
most of us reasonable people know that Cap got
Right.
fucked, right? He hasn't played football in 7 years.
It's crazy.
Over. It's over. It's over. It's done. It's done for really fucked up circumstances. I get it.
Horrifying.
It's over. Stop it. Get some help, as the Jordan commercial went. Get some help, please. Kaepernick, get Kaepernick here to do what? To do what? Bring up the team
genuinely, who would you rather watch, Cap or Zach Wilson?
I can't even answer that because there's nothing that would make me give a fuck like either alternative. So like I can't even answer that really. Like who would I rather? They both stink. Like Cap is 35, bro. He's my age, and he hasn't played football in 7 years.
The guy who just got hurt's like 43. That was the Super. We're gonna win you the Super Bowl.
Aaron Rodgers is good at his job still, or was. I don't even. He might be dead. I don't fucking know, but he was competent. Colin Kaepernick wasn't good the last time he played. That was 7 years ago.
That part's not true. That part's not true,
sir.
He was 4-1 touchdown interception ratios last season, and 3 of those interceptions came in one game. It's insane. I can rattle that off because how many times have I had to say that to people?
We're doing touchdown to interception ratio as like the
that's the whole argument for Rodgers' entire career is his TD to interception ratio.
We're not. How do people put up with you? How?
As someone who's been in a lot of his Aaron Rodgers the GOAT debates, I hear that stat get thrown around a lot.
Touchdown to interception ratio is not irrelevant. Let me make myself clear. When it's all you have and your team does not score points that well and they stink, I don't care about it. I can't speak for anybody else. I can only speak for me.
I couldn't even we could sit here all day. I would be lucky if I could name a single receiver from that 49ers team. Like, they were not the 49ers of today.
Oh, I mean, for sure. And the Brock Purdy World Tour, like, I like the kid. He's good. I'm not trying to take nothing away from him. But it's like, is he better than this guy? Is he better than that guy? And how good is he? Is he top? How does anybody objectively rate 49ers quarterbacks? Like, I'm so serious when I ask that question. Bro, everybody is always open. All of them. They're always fucking open. All of them. Which it makes it confounding that they traded 18 first-round picks for Trey Lance in the first place. Because it's like, if you have an above average, I get why they did it in theory. Like, all right, we want somebody who could make shit happen when people are not open by 15 yards. I don't think you should have to trade the shirt off of your back and the house over your head to do it. I personally, just me, I don't think you had to do all of that.
I still don't think they traded knowing who they wanted, and I think even when they made the pick, not everyone in the room was pumped, as per how you watch Shanahan use Trey Lance like a fullback. So I know I remember writing about it. I remember there was a ton of smoke that they traded up to 3 from Mac. And when you look at the quarterbacks Shanahan prefers, Jimmy G, Brock Purdy, Mac more fits into that box. And I'm not even saying he's as good as either of them or as bad as either of them, however you feel about them.
I will. I'll say it. You won't. What the fuck is the difference between Jimmy Garoppolo and Mac Jones?
There's not much durability.
Really?
Durability.
True. And outward racism. But besides that, like, what's the difference? Like, you put Mac Jones with Ayuk and Kittle and Debo
Trent Williams
and McCaffrey, and with 8 seconds to throw every fucking play, what do you think he's gonna do? He's gonna do fine, I assume.
And everybody's I imagine he'd do tremendously on the 49ers.
Right. Like, Brock is solid. Like, I'm not trying to say nothing, take nothing away from it, but I can't imagine anybody throws to more open people. And yes, that's the name of the game. And I'm not taking nothing away from him. No. I just don't know how you could sit here and tell me you know how good Brock Purdy is at playing quarterback. I have no idea. None.
No, there's no way to know. He's obviously, I think the only thing you can say with certainty is he's obviously better than where he was selected. Like, he clearly
1,000%
not the last player in the draft, no doubt. But sure. Yeah, it's tough to know because things have been good for him. But I don't know. He's been talking shit lately. Like, he's got something. He's got more stuff that he didn't show last year. I don't know that I've ever heard him speak prior to last week.
Me either. I know I hadn't. I was like, oh, he talking that talk. Like, oh, well, we'll see if Patrick Peterson catches the interceptor.
He's got fucking brothers named Chubba popping up out of nowhere all of a sudden.
Insane, by the way. Insane. I had no idea until I read your tweet. I was like, who has a brother named Chubba? Who? Like,
absurd.
Okay, fair. All right.
Genuinely absurd. But this is the only teams that matter. We are not a football podcast.
Correct.
At the moment. These two shit-ass teams are almost done, so maybe. We're recording at the shockingly, it's Wednesday. It's 8 p.m. The Red Sox are in another rain delay. I couldn't even begin to tell you what number this is on the season. I saw someone throw around the number 40 yesterday. I was like, I don't know if that's a joke. Like, I do not know if that's a joke.
Dude, I didn't even know that they played last night.
Yeah.
I knew.
The same game they played earlier in the day, by the way. They photocopied the first game, played the same game.
So I heard. Like, I read that they were like, hey, man, they decided to play the same game twice. That's fabulous. Bro, I knew that they had a doubleheader, and I watched the first half of the doubleheader. That's what makes this part wild. Like, I watched the first part of the doubleheader, mind you, a game at 1 o'clock on a Tuesday, and it didn't register to me like, you know what? Later on, it's probably another game. I was too shocked because I think I got a notification of somebody homered, maybe, and I'm like,
Rafaela homered to stop Rodon to start game 2.
That was the notification I got, and I'm like, the Red Sox are playing baseball. Who are they playing? Who are they playing against? What are you talking about? And then I was like, oh, they're playing against the Yankees.
Us, yeah.
Rodon is pitching. Like, okay, I'll check back tomorrow. Like, yeah. And, well, there's no game today. So, great. Lovely. Not yet, at least.
No. And it truly, the only thing that mattered, both teams, I believe, were eliminated as of last night. The only thing that's different is who's going to be in 4th place when people wake up tomorrow, which I don't think anyone really gives a fuck about.
I guess you got to hold out for the people who bought tickets. But it's like, bro, they bought tickets to see a 4th or the 5th place team. I feel like they should invest their money better. Personally, that's just one man's opinion.
Well, you don't know. I mean, a lot of these tickets, at least I'll speak for Boston. I won't speak for New York. A lot of these tickets are bought in February where there's hope.
Fair.
And it's like, man, for Yankees, Red Sox, September, that could decide something. And it does. It very technically does decide who gets better lottery odds in the draft.
Yes. Yes. Who was fourth and who was fifth? I can't imagine something I care less about than that.
But to play a double header, so you watched the first game.
I did.
What were your emotions when Verdugo goes up there and swings first pitch when Clay Holmes is like rifling it off the backstop?
I have mixed feelings on those type of things because, like, all right, a pitcher walks a guy, walks two guys, whatever. I understand the thought of I might never see a better pitch than this because he has to throw a strike.
Right.
I think with Clay Holmes, it's a little bit different because you know you're getting a turbo sinker. Like, you know, flat out, like, he does not throw four-seam fastballs. And if you catch the ball on the wrong part of the bat, you lose the game. Like, I think it's a little bit different. You lose the game. Like, there's no, like, Alex Verdugo is not fast, is he? No.
He was faster this year than he has been in years past,
okay.
but I wouldn't,
so, like,
compared to the league, I wouldn't call him a fucking speedster.
Right. No. And to be fair, he could have hit a slow grounder. So let me not say the game is over. In many cases, it's probably over.
Right.
So, like, when he swung at the first pitch, I was like, I don't think that's a great idea based on who was on the mound. Anybody else, have a blast. Go ahead. I don't really believe in the whole I gotta take this pitch because the guy before him walked. Because, like, bro, you work like hell in baseball to get middle fastballs.
Right.
Who am I to tell you to not swing at middle fastballs when you get one? Like, you have to.
I get much angrier at guys swinging 3-0 than 0-0. Like, I believe the Red Sox under Cora really have not been a swing at the first pitch type of ball club in general. But like you said, if you're gonna get one, like the pitch location was unbelievable. It's a swing at, like you said, it's a sinker. He tops it off, goes right to like the most tailor-made double play ball you've ever seen in your life. It's a classic argument between people who argue results versus process. I can't shit on the process there. Like, there's plenty of other I don't know why I'm blank. Realities, alternatives is the word that almost came out. Not a word. Well, alternate realities. I was just trying to make it one word. But if he has that about 100 times and swings at that pitch 100 times, like 50 are probably in the 13th row. You know what I mean? For a walk-off like that. Right. So I can't shit on a guy. It's just very frustrating when you've seen a guy be wild. We've seen plenty of relievers melt down. I'm sure Rivera was like that because that fucking cutter was impossible to make solid contact off of. So I'm sure plenty of guys saw him walk one or two and go up there and be like, oh, I'm going to sit dead red. And oops, it's still a cutter and grounder or broken back grounder to second. I'm sure that happened 1,000 times off Rivera.
Sure did. I appreciate all 1,000 of them.
Right. Yeah. No, like, I get it. I very much understand the frustration, but the process there, and I don't even know if the process matters because I still haven't heard a single thing that says Verdugo's on this team next year. So people can be mad at him. It's shitty. It matters 0%. Like, it was just another shitty loss. I saw someone right before we got on. I think it was like the John Boy guys posted it, but someone on Reddit had if all the one-run decisions in baseball were flipped. So win or loss, if you were in a one-run game, that flipped. The Rays would have like 105 wins. So I didn't know they were that bad in one-run games. Wow. And the Orioles were so lucky in one-run games because they dropped to third. Your Yankees jump all the way up to second in the division under these.
Not surprised to hear that.
Yeah. It was.
Yeah. I feel like I've watched 85 3-2 losses this year. So I'm not going to argue. I believe it.
Now, they were in second. The Red Sox changed at none, by the way. So they've been 500.
They've earned the record that they've got.
Very 500 one-run games, it would appear.
That's very funny.
But even the second place Yankees, I mean, they were, if I remember the records correctly, still like 12 games back of the Rays. So the Rays may be the worst run team in all of baseball history. Like, jarring to see.
and that makes me want to stop talking shit about them, but then also keep talking shit about them. So I don't know what to do. I feel like I could I could go either way, and send, fuck them. Actually, yeah, let's talk shit. Fuck them.
Well, it's like I feel like they've had as wasted of a season as a team can have, and some of it wasn't their fault. It was some very wild off the
Most
field
of it
shit.
wasn't their fault.
Yeah,
Most
that
of
you
it was
can
not their fault.
have McClanahan going down, which I feel like they kind of have built into their prediction. Not necessarily McClanahan, but they've dealt with it with Glass now for a few years
Mm.
now. They always seem to have one really good arm on the shelf, which is shitty, but they have a million good arms,
They're
so I don't
always
feel
prepared.
that bad for them. Yeah.
Prepared.
Uh, but yeah, I didn't expect them to be dog shit in one run games. That will kill you.
It will. It legitimately will, especially if you are a team with playoff hopes. Like if you are the Pittsburgh Pirates and you stink in one run games, nobody cares because you're the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Right. But the current shitty teams we're representing and talking about, this series would have been slightly more interesting, much more interesting if Dominguez didn't tear his UCL. Of course, we record early last week. That happens, I think, the second we hang up. And people are like, do you talk about this? Do you talk about this? No, didn't happen in the reality we lived in. But now we're here. How much does this even matter to you after seeing how many guys are able to play quickly after UCL tears? Or are you just like, this is shit we don't want to deal with even a little bit?
I'm not like wildly pessimistic about the future outlook because I think we have enough to go off of where it's like he ultimately should be fine. Now it sucks. Like one for him because he was making a name for himself early,
Mm-hmm.
and it stinks. It's more sad than anything else, really, more disappointing than anything else. Like he should be fine. Now when he comes back, he's probably not going to be able to play the field.
At all?
So are you just gonna start him in the minors? Like, I guess that's what you got to do it because you're paying John Carlos Stanton a quadrillion million dollars for what? Like, you can't. You're not gonna put him in the outfield often. I'm assuming. So that's where it becomes a little bit complicated. But that's also like a April to what July maybe issue, June issue, maybe a little bit less time than that. So it just sucks. Really, it really just. It's like and like I'm not one of them spoiled Yankee fans. I get like I do have the occasional first world problem. 100%. This is the worst Yankee season that I've ever encountered personally, and I'm not saying that to whine. I'm saying that to say I got it good. If it took this long for
For sure.
this, I have it good, bro. It took this long, and they're 500. Granted, the record does not fucking matter at all.
No.
But a lot of people have seen way worse than this, and a lot of people have seen way worse than this every year. So I'm
Yeah, their
thankful.
whole life. Yeah.
Their whole life has been just an endless loop of like the Yankee season this year, but worse. So it's just I'm thankful. Jasson will come back. He will be fine. It sucks, but I wish him the best. He'll be all right.
Well, it's like I don't even know that the teams that just show up every single year and suck do have it worse. When I think of like who has it the worst, it's the Minnesota Twins, who haven't won a game since the Red Sox won their first World Series, a playoff game. They've not won once, and they get to they win the Central, which does not count. They win the Central, they play you in the first round and get swept out of there every year.
I love
That's
the Twins. I
way worse.
appreciate the
I'd
Twins.
much rather stink. I'd much rather stink.
I mean, the Twins have mixed quite a bit of stink in there, though. To be fair to them, they mixed quite a bit of stink around the relentless not winning in the playoffs. So like they've mixed both, and they don't ever have any expectations either. So it's kind of like, all
There
right,
was there was what was it, 17? They set the home run record that was broken by the Yankees in 18. Like they've had some crazy
it was a really
highs.
good team. That was a
Yeah,
really the 17 team was a really good team. Now I didn't fear them one iota.
sure. There was no
Why would
reason
I? There
to.
was no reason to. Like when they went up 3-0 in the first thing, I'm like, I will sweat at 6. Not a second before. It could be 5. Like they were pitching Irvin Santana. You want me to care about this? Like
will not accept Irvin Santana slander.
You don't have to. That's your business. You don't have to. But I was
Well, he
not
was. The
shook.
problem was he was like 45 in that game. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't.
Oh
It
yeah.
wasn't young Angel Irvin
Yeah,
Santana.
like it was 2011. Urban Santana were having a different conversation altogether. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, man, like, hey, listen, I've been a fan for 28 years. If this is the worst it gets, I'm content. I'm thankful. Um, I I just want a slight rant off topic,
Okay.
not off topic, but semi off topic. Can we stop with the IKF stuff, Yankee fans? Officially, like, I know this came out of complete left. I saw his numbers earlier, and they were even worse than I thought they were. So I just want to bring that up because IKF is at like 245, 300, like 330 slugging with like a 75 OPS plus. Let's bring it back. He makes for a good utility guy. Why are you paying IKF $6+ million to do what? To do what? To be good team morale? You can pay less for good team morale if you're that insistent on team chemistry. I know we like IKF because, well, he was a bright spot on a shitty team for like what 6 weeks, and he's a good story because he's a good soldier and he grew up a Yankee fan. Doesn't give a fuck about that shit.
I,
But he
I,
grew up a Yankee fan. I could not possibly care less. But people latch themselves onto that part of the story. I don't give a shit. Whatever. Just y'all can't complain, bitch and moan about how the Yankees use their money and how they will sit in your face and tell you all about the luxury tax, and then be like, you know what, it's a good idea to pay IKF $7 million a year. You can't do both, bro. You gotta pick an angle, pick one, and go. We just don't have to do this. He's a likable guy. From everything you've seen, he handles himself well. Blah blah blah. Stop telling me that kid is good at baseball or even remotely good at baseball. He's not. Not everybody's supposed to be. He's made a good living being really bad at his job. Just celebrate that for him and stop lying in my face. That's all I ask. Thank you.
I mean, we're talking about someone with a 2.11 ERA plus, and you just want to throw him out into the middle of the street. What's wrong with you?
You
There's
know what?
nails out of the
You know
pen.
what? I apologize because we're going to touch on Yankee pitching later, and they do need more arms. Maybe they should just give him an offseason, build his arm up, and see what he could do as a pitcher. Because God knows he can't hit, and he doesn't field particularly well either. Maybe pitching is his real true calling. You know what? You're right. Maybe that's what it is, and that's a terrible oversight on my part.
His WAR is pretty much zero. Like he is a replacement level player. Like there's below and there's above. He is a replacement level player.
And there's nothing that I could point to where I'm like, you know what? He stands out in this one thing. I am not under any kind of delusions that bench players got to be standouts. I'm not.
Right.
Like, they don't have to be. I get it. But like I usually like my bench players to have at least one thing they do well. Like whether it's okay, he hits the ball at the park. Okay, cool. He fields really well. Okay, cool. He runs really well. Something, anything. Why with this guy? Go ahead.
I feel like the the thing on him was his fielding coming out of Texas, and that just hasn't been the case for the Yankees. So I'm wondering, is it like he got shitty when he got to the Yankees, or was
He's
he just
legitimately good at
overhyped?
third, and they decided to play him at short. He won 2 fucking Gold Gloves at third, and they decided we're gonna play him out at short. Now, typically, if you could play third well, you could play short well. Like typically, but that is not the case with this fella at all. And then they put him in the outfield. He's not good at that either.
No,
Like,
they
granted,
got to
like
stop
yeah,
pretending people can just play outfield. Like I understand everyone that reaches the majors was a
brother.
shortstop until they were 13 years old. Like I don't, it doesn't matter. Like not everyone
Listen,
can go out
no,
there.
nobody gives a fuck about my experience from Little League. But brother, they put me in the outfield in Little League. That ball went in the air, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And buddy, I managed to catch a couple, but it was not fun. I don't wish that on anybody. Like Yankee fans who are listening to this will understand. DJ LeMayu, not slander, awful at catching pop ups. Like he'll catch them, but buddy, he got to fight all of them into the glove. That is me. It literally, I'm just like, oh shit. And then nobody's around. It's just you. It's a really lonely feeling when that baseball is in the air and you are not comfortable trying to catch it. Very lonely feeling. Stop acting like everybody can play outfield. Yes, these guys are great athletes. It's not an easy job at all.
No,
Just because some of these guys make it look easy does not mean it is.
no. I mean, Duran came up as a second baseman, and they were like, "Oh, you've got the speed, and you've put on way too much weight to play second base. So let's try you in center." And he was awful when he first tried it, like just the worst. And this year, his numbers bear out to still being, I believe, slightly below average, but that is so, like it hasn't been noticeable at all. He looks like a league average center fielder out there, which is a tremendous
A
leap
win.
for him.
Right, that's a win.
But it's like, yeah, the Red Sox took Mookie from second, and they like Mookie's one of the greatest athletes walking the earth right now. To
Legit.
pretend you can just move
Legit.
people from second to be like, oh, he's the best outfielder in baseball. Like that doesn't happen routinely. That was a mistake. Like that didn't happen intentionally.
Bro, and I don't know the non-sport shit that Mookie does well, but like I'd bet any kind of money he's just one of the most talented people walking Earth.
Sure.
Like I imagine Mookie just playing the piano like a god, doing whatever it is, singing like whatever it is. I just imagine Mookie is good at whatever. If you give Mookie something and say, all right, I want you to be able to do this at a high level in 72 hours. Mookie's like, no problem.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, he's a fucking professional at it. I hate people like that. High key. Yes, I'm a hater. Yes, I'm a hater. There's no way you could just be good at everything. Like, save some for the rest of us.
It's not even just good. It's good at, like you were saying, a frustrating speed. There's so many Instagram accounts that are just like everybody sucked at something the first time they tried it. That's not true. It's not how it works. No. I see people all the time step up, try something for the first time. They're at least average at it, and then they only get better. Not everyone's shit at things immediately all the time. It's just not how it works. So those people are very, very frustrating.
Yes. I'm glad I'm not alone.
But you were talking about a need for a pitcher. There's a pitcher I believe both of our teams are on. But before we even get to that, there was a GM that had been rumored to be a Red Sox target if they should move on from Heim, which I don't think the front office has made up their mind yet. I think it's more if they think they can get someone they view as an upgrade, and not even necessarily an upgrade. Heim was brought here to be a scapegoat. I think he'll probably leave here as a scapegoat.
That's so sad. Good, man. That's so sad.
Baseball Reference just decided to scream and add into my ears. I've never had that happen before in my life. Didn't care for it. But I mean, honestly, he was brought here to be a sacrificial lamb, brought here to trade Mookie, and now he's going to be probably blamed for a season that's still going to be end up better record-wise than most people predicted in Boston before the season. So I love how idiotic that is. But the name I had heard from a couple of people, and I believe it had been made public by others, if it hadn't, oh fucking well, was David Stearns, who the Mets just hired. I haven't read anything up on Stearns. I know baseball people like him. I look at the Brewers and I'm like, they're fine. I don't know what all the hullabaloo was.
Yeah. I feel like this is not about what he's actually done. I don't think it can be about what he's actually done because he hasn't done a whole lot. Just if you're just looking strictly vacuum-wise in a vacuum at the record, it's just been like, okay, they've been the tallest short kid. Well, that's what the NL Central is every year, pretty much. So it's like, all right, he's cool. Like, yes, he gets something done given the payroll limitations. I guess cool. Like the hubbub. I'm not here to argue because I don't know this man. I don't know much about this man outside of his record. And his record says what it says. Now with David Stearns and the Mets, which I find funny because I follow a ton of Mets fans in a group chat with a lot of Mets fans, and happen to know people who know people. This has been the worst kept secret in baseball for like 2 years, and I find it funny. Like if you contrast MLB and NBA. We would be screaming tampering right now. This is the NBA. We'd be screaming tampering at the top of our lungs if this is the NBA. And now the MLB just like, oh, he's hired. Great. We're going to have a presser. Great. Lovely. Let's see what he does with Steve Cohen.
Well, one thing I don't know is, did the Mets ask the Brewers for permission to interview him? Was his contract expiring? All of that kind of stuff. I have no idea.
I'm going to assume that they did. I don't know either. I'm going to assume that they did because he's still technically under contract. So like I'm going to assume that they did. Like, or maybe the Brewers just were just like maybe he asked the Brewers. Who knows?
So
I'm not
he
assuming, yeah.
he stepped down at the end of last season, so he's probably under contract, but it wasn't like he was running the Brewers day to day
Probably
a week
okay.
ago,
Right.
which
Right.
makes more sense because you're
Yeah,
right.
that makes sense.
I mean, but even in basketball, like the tampering stuff's also very selective. The NBA doesn't even investigate that. Like in the past 2 seasons, we've seen multiple coaches just get hired off of other teams' benches, like no problem. And so it's like none of those have resulted in anything. Uh,
True.
so this seems like it was probably more above board. But even if it wasn't, like I'm fine with that. Like I don't really care.
I don't give two fuck because the thing is like, bro, if you go find and punish everybody for tampering, you be finding and punishing everybody. Everybody fucking tampers, bro. Whether it's directly, indirectly, through back channels, everybody fucking tampers. Who cares? Like, what are you trying to prevent?
So it says Milwaukee reached the postseason 4 straight years while never ranking top half of the league in payroll. So this is what people like. If this is what infuriates me about how susceptible people are. I don't even want to just say Red Sox fans because it's people. How susceptible they are to media manipulation, and by that I mean if you go back and read all of Chaim Bloom's write-ups, that's what it would say. He led the Tampa Bay Rays to the playoffs by keeping a low payroll. Yet, if they had fired Bloom and hired this guy, people would be dancing in the streets. Like, oh, look what he's done with the Brewers. If he can do it with that small market team, it's like that's exactly what we just
Like
did.
you're copy and pasting
And
you're
people
copy and
hate it.
pasting the previous GM's hire info for this one.
But with
So
less success. Like it's not even as successful. Like, that's what kills me. So that's where it's like I don't remember Tampa, as cheap as they are, pissing off their ace because of arbitration. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
that shit
that's
was that shit was, and wasn't that shit over like 500K or maybe
I
it
don't
was
even know if it was
less.
that much. I think it was honestly less. It was like 275, like an embarrassing low amount.
I mean, at least David Stearns won't have those problems now.
Maybe we don't know. We don't know what he's been directed to do from Cohen. I'm sure Cohen,
Fair.
like a lot of teams, this isn't just the Mets, but a lot of teams, if the owner's like, "Hey, now's the time we want to pay," your options become larger. Like the Xander Bogaerts isn't here because 2 years ago, ownership didn't want to pay for him. And it wasn't 275, whatever he signed for. It wasn't that. It was like 180.
They could have got him. Yeah, they could have got him for way less. Yeah.
Ownership was like, no, we're not doing that. We just paid Story, and that's not a shot at Story. It's like we just gave out that contract. Why would we give it out twice?
And not for nothing, as somebody who has very passively defended Trevor Story, I think it's kind of time you start taking shots at him personally. Just one man's opinion. I think it's kind of time you start taking shots at him because
For this season, it's like I just want to see him hit the finish line and be healthy going into the off season. If he's hitting 180 in May next year, we'll be talking plenty about Trevor's Story. But this
that's what I'm
coming
here.
back from injury, like it's hard to be like, oh, this guy sucks. Like, yeah,
That's true.
no shit. He's fucking
That's true.
making sure his arm stays attached every time he throws.
That's a very
ball.
reasonable measured take. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, trust me. Like he swung 3-0. He took a swing 3-0 a couple weeks ago. And obviously, nothing happened. And I was like, you fucking why? And I can't even say it because people just assume I'm mad at the Story. You can go back episodes on episodes on episodes I've done talking baseball in my life. I fucking can't stand swinging 3-0. I can't stand it. But people think I just pick on him because I hold him to like live up to even some of your contract a little bit.
I don't like when non-good hitters do it. I can tell you that.
Right.
I don't like when non-good hitters do it. If Aaron Judge swings 3-0, okay.
Right.
If IKF swings 3-0, it's going to be like, hey, somebody got to explain to me what just happened and why this happened and why he was given this free reign to do this shit.
But if the Red Sox do stick with Chaim, which I think they should, I don't think anything's been egregious. I don't think he's been perfect. I don't think like I said, I don't think he's done anything fucking egregious to the point where it was like, yeah, this guy has no plan. If anything, I'd argue there's more plan now than there ever was under the Dombrowski era. Right now, he reminds me a lot of Cherington. and I'll defend Charrington to the death because Charrington didn't trade Xander and Mookie Betts for Cole Hamels like a lot of people wanted him to do. I can't imagine how bad of a trade that would have been. And people in this town were frothing at the mouth, wanting him dead because he didn't trade for Cole Hamels because they knew that guy's name and they didn't know the other two guys' names. They also wanted Matt Harvey for a similar haul. I can't imagine how the trades you don't make are so much more important often,
and
than the
they
trades
never
you do
really get
make.
talked about like that.
No.
Like they don't get enough play at all because the Yankees had a similar offer out there for Hamels. It was Judge, I think Judge, Severino, and Gary Sanchez. Now, obviously, the last two, the careers went how they went. But Aaron Judge for Cole Hamels would have aged like milk. So, God bless. Thank God they didn't do that shit.
And it's sometimes the trades you do make, because wasn't the A-Rod deal, wasn't who was originally in that? Or they gave him a choice between two guys and they didn't pick the other one.
You're talking about the actual trade?
Cano, right? Cano was the guy they said you could have Cano or this outfielder along with Soriano.
I forget who the outfielder was, but yeah,
but they picked him.
Cano. Yeah, they did. And boy, I'm thankful they did, buddy. Yes, I am very thankful they did. Yeah, they picked the other one. Yeah.
Because that trade, you're still happy at the end of the day. You got A-Rod, but it's like, yeah, we traded Cano and Soriano for like that's a lot. That's a much heavier payment.
It's a much heavier payment, right? But they traded some outfielder. I don't remember who it was. That should tell you where we're at with it. So
yeah, you weren't upset.
No, not at all. Not even remotely. No.
But I bet if you go back, and obviously the internet was much younger then, but I bet if you went back to some like AOL Yankees message boards, I bet people were like, that I wouldn't have traded the center fielder. I wouldn't have done
it. Brother, the Yankees didn't want to trade Eduardo Nunez for Cliff Lee. Now, I don't remember what the conversation was. All I remember being like is, I don't give a fuck how good Eduardo Nunez is. You have one of the best infields ever put together. Why are you keeping Eduardo Nunez right now when you could get Cliff Lee? All it takes is Eduardo Nunez. You get Cliff Lee in here. If Cliff Lee walks next year, so fucking what? You got an entire postseason run out of him. Who cares? Who gives a fuck?
I wonder how people like 15 years from now will remember how dominant Cliff Lee was for like a 3-year stretch.
Listen, if they don't remember, I will be here to remind them. Mostly because Cliff Lee terrified me, brother. If the Yankees got 2 hits in an inning off Cliff Lee, I was ready to party. Fuck the game. Fuck the result of the game. They could have been down 4-0, 5-0. I was ready to count my moral victories if they got 2 base runners in an inning off that guy. Like, I know his numbers don't look like somebody who was as dominant as he was for 3 or 4 years, but you had to be there. Like, it's one of those you had to be there. For the 3-4 year run he had, you had to be there because he was incredible. And he didn't walk anybody, and he worked very quickly for that era.
If I remember correctly, he hits the scene. Yeah, he hits the scene in 2004, so I'm not even paying attention to him yet. I've got other things going on. 2005, he comes in 4th in the Cy Young. 2006, he's just regular good. 2007, I believe he's down in single A.
Yes, something like that happened. Yes.
It was just like,
it was such a fall from grace.
What happened there?
Such a fall from grace. Yes.
And he comes back in 2008, wins the Cy Young, wins 22 games with a 2.5. Then the next year he starts with Cleveland. He's still good, but not Cy Young good. Gets traded to Philly, which was a horrifying rotation.
Oh, yes, it was.
Then he ends up in, well, I guess the horrifying rotation happens when he comes back to Philly, because then he goes out to Seattle and Texas for a year, which was a very strange year.
One that I remember, and I'd rather not. Fuck Cashman for not doing that shit. He'd have to see me for that. Thank you.
And then 11 through 14, he's just back with the Fightins, and he's back being a Cy Young contender. Let me get his postseason numbers, because I
don't remember Cliff Lee ever giving up shit in the postseason.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
I'm wrong. I don't remember it at all. Like,
dominant.
He was absolutely dominant. I just remember him casually catching pop-ups and shutting everything down. That's what I remember about Cliff Lee in the postseason.
So, is this right? He's only in the postseason 3 times? That feels incorrect.
That sounds about right.
It was
Twice in
back.
Philly and once in Texas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
It
sounds about right.
feels so much more like for that. It felt like he was pitching every game those
Damn,
3
he never
years.
made it in Cleveland?
I guess not.
I guess
No.
not. That is something. Maybe he was hurt. I don't
Oh,
remember.
well, '07
They made the
was the,
playoffs.
but that was the year he was down in single A.
Good call.
So he probably wasn't even on the postseason roster if I had to
Good call.
guess.
Good call. Yeah.
Because then '08, yeah, but '08 they don't make the playoffs. Like that's where it's weird. He wins Cy Young, they don't make the playoffs.
Apparently not. But
Is
then
that when
who in 08?
they must? No, they traded CC in '08. They traded CC in '08 because he
Good
signs
call.
with you in '09.
Good call. Yes, they did. And CC was pitching complete games from Milwaukee every 2 days. It was absurd. It was absurd. Like every 2 days, he was just like, all right, I'm taking the ball and you're not going to take me off the mound. And I dare you to try. Like that was CC the entire run with Milwaukee.
In '09, I didn't expect to be talking about Cliff Lee tonight, but we're here now. In '09, he first game in the playoffs, first playoff game ever. 9 innings, 6 hits, 1 earned run. Uh, then 5 days later, 7 and a third, 1 earned run. Then he faces the Dodgers, 8 shut, 10 Ks. So his ERA is a .74 by now. Then he gets the World Series against your boys. He wins both games. 16 innings. What's this? 5 earned runs over
Whoa.
16 innings. Yeah, no, I
Oh,
mean
explosion.
he kind of got shelled in the last game. He still won, but 7 innings, 5 earned runs. First game he faced you, it was 9 shut.
I genuinely want to go rewatch that so I could see where they scored 5 runs off Cliff Lee. Because if you had told me before we started this that the Cliff Lee gave up 5 runs to the Yankees total in his career, I would have believed you. I'd have been like, okay, I believe you. It felt like it.
Because with Texas the next year, 8 shut against the Yankees. So he lost to you guys one time.
Brother, that Texas series was that shit was so frustrating. To watch Josh Hamilton hit like 12 home runs and then watch Cliff Lee do whatever he wanted was the most aggravating thing ever.
And that's when his wife was like, I can't stand those people. I do not like those people one bit. But yeah, 2010 postseason, he beats the Rays twice. 16 innings, 2 earned runs, 21 strikeouts. Just
Guy was a filthy fucking pitcher, bro.
Not concerned. In the World Series, though, San Francisco got to him, which doesn't make any sense because San Francisco did not have people who knew how to hit on those teams. 6 earned runs and 3 earned runs in 2 starts. Never, I guess the second game he pitched 7 innings, but 4 2/3 in that first one. That's crazy.
Of course, nothing San Fran did in them championship years offensively made any fucking sense. Nothing. Nothing they did made any sense.
No. But yeah, Cliff Lee was a bad motherfucker during that stretch.
Yes, he was. He sure fucking was.
But the point of we were originally starting off with both
like 10 minutes ago, but yeah,
both teams will be in on I can't remember his last name now, but Yamamoto.
Yep. What is it, Yoshi?
It's Yoshinobu. That's what it is. Yeah, Yoshinobu. And again, in Japanese, that's why Ichiro wears Ichiro on the back because that's technically his last name. So that's why. But Yamamoto, the Yankees were there to watch. They were there for the no hitter, right?
Yes. They were there to watch their future pitcher. Listen, the Yankees are going to sign this guy. Like, mark it down 842 9 on 913. The Yankees are going to sign this guy. I'm not saying this out of some homerism, because one pitcher is just not going to move me like that. Like, they have a lot of things to deal with and address if they want to actually compete in 2024. Now, the thing with the Yankees, and when they show interest in a player and the player just doesn't shun them, basically, they get the player. That's typically how this always fucking works. When they show interest in a player and they're like, yo, we want this guy. Not like, oh, we're gonna take an interview and we're gonna sit down. None of that shit. When you hear from like multiple people like the Pastons of the world and whoever else, the Yankees are in on so and so. Like they want so and so. Typically, they get whoever so and so happens to be. Cole, Rodon. Uh, Granted, going back to the George's ownership, they got everybody they fucking wanted. That's how this typically works. So they are clearly interested in him because they would not have flown to fucking Japan if they weren't. Yes, I know they're rich, whatever. They would not have wasted their time if they were not interested in this guy. So logically, I'm concluding they're going to sign him. How much that matters to me, I mean, I like watching him pitch if he's good. So great, lovely. How much closer does he get to contention? Depends on what else they do. But I will say this though, with regards to Yankee fans and how they are approaching potentially signing him, and they keep talking about like we should allocate funds to the offense. Listen, I understand that how your baseball team operates has to alter your mindset and what you expect. It's natural. It has to. You might want X and want Y. You're not going to get X or Y. You got to deal with the realities. So I get why you might think, okay, if they sign this guy for let's say $200 million, they're probably going to tell you that's it. Go buy your $27 chicken buckets on opening day. That's all you're getting. Like they might tell you that. They might legitimately tell you that. Now, here, like, oh, we should allocate to the hitting. We don't really need pitching. Yes, we do. Actually, yes, we fucking do. The Yankees have one starting pitcher on their entire roster that you could say, I feel confident. I know exactly what I'm going to get from that guy next year. That's Garrett Cole. Carlos Rodon looked better yesterday. From everything I heard, I didn't see it. So great. He also has an ERA of 6, and he's injury prone. We don't know what we're going to get from him. Nestor has shoulder issues. Severino's a Dodger. Clark Schmidt is Clark Schmidt. He's fine, cool. Like if he's your 4 starter, great. You're cool. You don't know what you're gonna get out of any of these guys, really. You need an arm. Maybe you don't need to spend $200 million. I guess that is a more prudent argument. But the idea that we don't need an arm is just false. They need everything. If you want to say that they don't need a bullpen arm, fine. Okay. They need a little bit of everything. They need offense. They need pitching. If they want to sign Yamamoto, if it comes to February 25th and they've done nothing else, we're having an entirely different conversation. But they need pitching. Make no mistake about it.
And this would be the off season to allocate majority of your funds to pitching because that's what's available. There's not a ton of bats available unless you want to give Bellinger a big deal, which I would, but I imagine most teams will not even entertain
Right.
that thought. So I get it. I very much get wanting to be in on this. Masataka Yoshida finally spoke up. I don't even know how often he'd been asked about this, but he spoke up about Yamamoto. He said, "We are close to each other. We played together for a long time. If it happens, that would be cool. That's his baseball life. So I hope he'll be well in any team he goes. I'm so excited to see him again." I can't, like, the Red Sox have been at his games all season and last season too. I can't imagine they aren't very in. Now, if you fire Heim and all the scouts and stuff would stay pretty similar, your international scouts aren't going with Heim, nothing like that. But Heim's probably had this guy circled for a while. So if you're going to make the switch there and bring in someone else, and there has been a very weird name floating around.
Which one is that?
So Theo Epstein's name has been floating around with the Red Sox again. And
is that a genuine question? I'm not even trying to push your buttons. Is that a good or a bad thing in 2023? Genuinely
I don't
asking.
know how it could be a bad thing. I
Okay,
don't.
fair.
It's kind of just what he does is build winning baseball teams. He's did it
True.
with the 2 dumbest fucking franchises in baseball history. So you got to give him credit where it's due. But it does kind of feel like, if I'm because I do trust Heim, I do trust his vision, I do trust his eye for talent. So for someone who doesn't want to see Heim fired, if I'm trying to look at it from the PR side of things, which every Red Sox move should be viewed as, they're all PR moves. man, the fan base doesn't trust us right now. What if we just brought Theo back? Like that, that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah, because not a single person would be like, "Man, that's a bad hire." Like it would be
Not a one. No,
universally loved. Not a one
nobody.
person. That's a bad hire. It would be a universally loved hire. Now, it might be one of those things that's universally loved and it works. That's
Well,
fair.
here's part
Mhm.
of why I think it would work. Theo would only come back if he thought the farm system was rebuilt. He would not come back if he did not think the farm was already rebuilt. And he
Right.
wouldn't just start trading guys all over the place. Like people forget, the Hanley deal did not happen when Theo was there. It was when he was on that little hiatus, that break he took.
Mhm.
And fucking who's the Jed Hoyer and someone else who's a GM now under like the cover of night. We're like, hey, let's trade Hanley for Josh Beckett. And Theo came back and was like, the fuck did you guys do? It's one of the best shortstops of all time. I think it worked out, but
Yes. It did. Yes.
Theo, trust me, when we won in 07, I was like, the trade worked. By 08, an 08 team was great, but after they get eliminated in 08, it's just like, man, does Hanley look nasty? Like he was like 30 home runs, 50 stolen bases. It was just like, oh man, are we sure? Are we sure we should have traded that guy?
My
And
my
yeah, we
my favorite Hanley tidbit actually doesn't have much to do with him, but it's when Jeter and Cashman were having their little contract stare down, and Jeter's like, "Why don't you name some shortstops you'd rather have than me?" And Cashman's like, "Oh, you sure?" Hanley was insane back and forth. Insane. He was not wrong either, but that's neither here nor there.
no, and I mean Hanley was just shortstop Manny, which is both a compliment and an insult,
Oh, yes, it is.
because when that guy's brain was not on baseball, it was like he was just looking at butterflies. And he's cool, like extremely cool. Love everything about Hanley, but I understand being like, man, we can't build the franchise around this guy. That will not work how we
They
hope.
master and aloof. Like they
Yeah,
are aloof to the core, both of them. Like Manny was catching baseballs and high fiving people in the stands, and Manny was like he never had a dull moment. There was never a dull moment with Manny, never.
but I am interested to see who gets Yamamoto because it's another guy I think. And I grow more furious by the day at Senga's final price tag. I know there were some concerns with his arm. Listen, we're through a season. He's been only getting stronger as the year goes. That guy looks sensational. And he signed for, I think, 75.
Yeah, it was 75. I think it was 5%.
Yamamoto's,
Yeah,
yeah, 5 for 75. Yamamoto's going to get 100 on top of that.
at least. At
So
least
that's where it's
if
like
we got 5, 6, 7 teams in there, like that might crack 200.
possible. It's certainly possible. And a lot of that will be because Senga was so good. People are going to look at that recency and be like, we trust it even more.
Oh,
It,
buddy, there's nothing I hate more than that shit. It's like when Miami took Ted Ginn in the top 10, fresh off Devin Hester returning 98 kicks for touchdowns in 2 years. It was like, bro, what makes you think Lightning is going to strike in the same place twice? Seriously, like at least in this case, it's more reasonable because Yamamoto might be good, could be good, probably will be good, whatever you want to say. But like the team do this shit, it's like, oh, they did it, so we could do
right.
it too. Like that's not how this works, really.
The,
Honestly, it's
the,
not.
the Yankees did it with the Red Sox got Daisuke. The Yankees went out and they got Kagawa. And it was just like,
All
look at
right.
us.
It was good recording the show with you, buddy.
That wasn't even a
I'm
shot. It was
leaving.
like what Daisuke wasn't like some Hall of Fame ace.
I didn't say it was a shot, but I didn't sign up to do this show to talk about no fucking Kagawa. I didn't sign up for this. I wasn't prepped for this.
You
Nobody.
guys gave him like 7. You guys didn't even pay him. What was his contract?
It was like it was something low. It wasn't that. It wasn't that.
Yeah, I
Like
remember it
3 for 21,
being
something like that.
that. That sounds pretty
It was
familiar.
like 3 for 21. It was not. It was nothing crazy. He was just
Crippling.
really hard to watch pitch. Like
Yeah,
really hard to watch pitch.
he made 20 million total American dollars, and he got paid for 4 years. He pitched for 2.
Fire. Firework if you could get it, bro.
For sure, yeah. And I remember him pitching way more than this too. He 13 career games started. Like that's not enough to be riled up about.
Yes, it is. You weren't there for them. You weren't there. I
I
was
sure
there.
was.
You weren't there. Oh, well, you wasn't watching. You wasn't in the trenches watching his every start. I was. I was. It hurt. It wasn't good.
I'm sure of it. But I am interested to see where he goes. To me, it reminds me of Kevin Gosman gets signed for a fucking 25 cents, and then Rodon hits free agency right after him. And it's the Red Sox were more in on Senga. They famously never picked up the phone to call Kevin Gosman, which remains perplexing.
Baffling. Baffling.
It's like I'm trying to think. I'm trying to take a
Also,
second.
if I'm not mistaken,
think.
Gosman got a damn reasonable ass contract. Did he
It
not?
was like 110
For like what, 6?
I think it was 5.
It was 5. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's more than I remember it being. But yeah, okay.
I'm looking it up because
Not
it's going to make me
calling
angry.
Gosman at all is crazy to me.
What I didn't autofill contract. Fuck. Yeah, 5 for 110. Infuriating. Genuinely infuriating.
Yeah.
Because then it's like Rodon got more than that. And yes. I was ready to give it to him because you missed out on Gosman and you still have that hole to fill. Senga was right there. I understand they didn't want to go for luxury tax, all this. You can find ways to get under luxury tax while still signing people. That's allowed. That's very much on the table.
When they feed me that shit, it's like, isn't your job to figure out how to work around the fucking luxury tax? And you keep telling the luxury tax. Like, stop beating me over the head with that shit. Just it's there. You know what the rules say. Deal with it.
And you got to think how much shittier the Blue Jays would be if you would just pluck Gosman off the market before them, even if you had to offer $10 million more. Like, you have that. But also, they were banking on Alek Manoah being a real person that pitched in the major leagues. And now he doesn't pitch for anybody. He's on his Matt Corral. They can't find him.
Oh, wait, they can't find him for real?
Who? Which one?
Manoah.
He didn't report to AAA. I don't believe he's been responding to their messages.
I feel like my tone kind of depends on if they actually if he's actually missing, because I'm a sound.
Oh, he's not like. I don't think he's like.
Okay, because if he's
missing,
not actually like real life missing, then like
in a lake or something like that.
I can speak freely. Okay, because I was like, hey, if he's missing, then I might have to scrap my whole thought process here. But yeah, I read that. It's just like he didn't agree with the decision. Listen, I have disliked Alek Manoah loudly and proudly for what, like 3 years? How long has he been in the big league? 3? Like
I don't know that long.
It's been 3, 2, whatever it's been. I don't like anything about that guy Steez. The whole thing. I don't like anything about that guy Steez. I don't like the way he walks. I don't like the way he talks. I don't like the way he carries himself. I don't like the way he carries. I don't like none of that shit. The Garrett Cole thing was the peak of it. And I'm not even talking about him. I'm talking about the cheating. I get it. You want to talk about the spy attack? All right, Cole can't do this without the spy attack, and he's still fucking better than you. But that's neither here nor there. But the whole incident that happened in the stadium where he hit Judge, then Cole must have been popping off from the dugout because, well, you hit his team's best player, and then Manoa just that whole like, he can meet me behind the audience. Like, you're not gonna fight. You're not gonna fight. Stop. This goes for everybody, professional athlete wise, generally speaking. You're not gonna fight. But with him, it makes it worse because Severino threw up and into somebody earlier in that same year. Manoa's big ass was popping off from the dugout, and Severino's like, bro, either come out or shut up. Like, I don't got time for
right.
Come out or shut up. And Manoa's stupid ass stopped talking. So you're not gonna fight. You're not about it. You're not gonna risk game checks to fight. Stop. But yeah,
listen, at this point, Jake Paul might be giving him game checks to fight because the Blue Jays don't really want
to give him game checks. Listen, I
think the shocking part is none of his success came in like the fake 2020 season. He wasn't even a rookie until 21, which means he didn't pitch at all in 2020. He comes out in 2021. He starts 20 games, goes 9-2 with a 3.22 ERA. Like, he was here pretty immediately. 2022, he's an all-star, third in the Cy Young. He was 16-7 with a 2.2 ERA. Like, no matter what you think of the guy, he was a legitimately very good pitcher.
Oh, for sure.
I have no idea what happened this year. Like, I can't. Early in the season, people were like, "Oh, it's the pitch clock. He doesn't know how to do." I can't buy that.
Oh yeah, they were making they were getting off their fat jokes. It's like, yo, he's fat and he got to pitch. He got to pitch quickly. How is he going to do it? Like, I don't think that's the problem here.
No, it's This is the. I mean, we were just talking about Cliff Lee. I don't know that he's the Cliff Lee bounce back because that's never really happened outside of Cliff Lee, but I find it impossible to believe he just forgot how to pitch. This is numbers 3-9 with a 5.87 and 19 starts, and that was even after getting sent down and coming back. Either he's horribly injured and they don't have doctors in Canada, or he's just forgot how to pitch. It's one of the more shocking.
I mean, maybe he took the Ricky Romero path. Was it Ricky Romero who had that one good year and then like quite literally never pitched again?
No. Ricky Romero had more than one good year, friend.
Well, it was somebody for the Blue Jays that pitched.
No. Ricky Romero had a very short run too. He was 2009 to 2011, one-time All-Star. Huh?
Are you sure it was more than one good year?
I'm looking at it now. He came up. He was 13-9 as a rookie with a 4.3. Like, that's nothing to write home about. But he's at a 3.7 and a 2.9 the next 2 years, and he goes 30-20 over that. Like, he was legitimately on the ascension, and he was 26 by then, so he's a little bit older. But by 2012,
so it was more than 1 year. Yeah, correct.
2012, he's 9-14 with a 5.7. They throw him out there for all 32 starts. That's kind of insane. And then by 2013, he makes 2 starts. He's out of the league. He never pitches again. So it's not unlike Ricky Romero. They do have similar levels of success. I would even say Manoa reached higher highs.
Yes, that's true. In the words of Cat Williams, you shouldn't have been talking shit. You shouldn't have been talking like all that. Like, I've been preying on this man's downfall for 2 years. Call me whatever you like. I don't care. I've been just like, listen, there's going to come a time where this kid struggles, and it's going to be good. I appreciate it because A, he plays for a division rival, and B, he's spectacularly unlikable. So good, good. I say good, and now he's running from minor league assignments. Good, I say the humbling has come. Good.
What I can't buy is a Yankee fan saying he's unlikable, as if this guy didn't wear fucking pinstripes, he wouldn't have the most popular jersey in the city.
I'm speaking for one person. Me.
And I'm shitting on the fan base. I don't know what you don't understand here.
I understand. I'm just saying I'm speaking for me. Like, yes, he might be likable to everybody else. That's true. I mean, there have been a lot of unlikable Yankees who have been hits with the fans. I mean, we saw David Wells' commentary this past week, for example.
Good Lord. No one was even fucking asking him. He was just like, finally a microphone. Yeah, I have some thoughts.
Right. Like, I've been waiting for the nearest fucking microphone. Nobody has been trying to interview me for like 7 years. I got some shit to get off my chest. That's what David Wells was on. I was like, nobody asked. Nobody asked you. David, how do you feel about celebrating the Yankees' 25-year anniversary of the 1998 season? Yo, I feel like fuck Bud Light. Like, whoa, David, whoa, buddy. Who asked about this?
What killed me, and I know people don't care, but what killed me, he was like, I always covered the Nike check. And they were like, why? It's like, because they've gone woke. It's like, brother, you haven't played in 15 years. What are you talking about? Now you can see into the future. Of all the people, David Wells is the one who can see into the future. I find that mighty hard to believe.
Yo, nobody asked David Wells a single fucking question about the current society, politics, none of that. David Wells took it upon himself like, yo, this is my time. I don't know if I'm going to see another mic until I'm dead. So I'm going out and I'm saying what I got to say, bro.
What I'm about to say, I'm not condoning it. If you want more microphones in your face, say stuff like that. There's a whole fucking network that'll hire you and give you a prime time slot. So if his idea was like, man, oh man, would I like some of this grift money I see going around? I'm sure it's coming his way. I'm positive of it.
I don't agree with what he's saying. I'm all for a good grift. Within reason, I'm all for a good grift. You want a grift? It's not illegal. If somebody dumb enough to give me the fucking money,
I think it is. I think it's called scamming, which is
oh, okay. scam is such a dirty way to put it. Grift is more just trying to convince stupid people to give you money. Scamming is doing dirty shit to try to convince stupid people to give you money. I think it's a slight difference.
Potato, tomato. They feel pretty the same.
Different house, same block. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But no, the difference between Manoa and Ricky Romero as well is Manoa's still 25. Romero went, by the time his arm fell off or whatever happened to him, he was already pushing up against 30.
Yeah, I think he came in at a later age. Yeah, well, not think he did. Definitely.
Yeah, he did. This isn't the last we've seen of him, but it also wouldn't be like he wouldn't be the first guy who just no longer pitched again. And I'm not even saying he won't try.
I hope it's not the last we've seen of him. I really enjoyed 2023 Alek Manoah. I'm not gonna lie to you. I enjoyed it. I hope we get more of exactly that. Him throwing room service, thigh high, 92-mile-an-hour fastballs down the middle. I really hope that he continues to do that, and the Blue Jays continue to employ him to do that.
He's not a free agent until 28.
Good. I hope he sees more tick until then. Good.
It's a tough scene. It's a real tough scene.
Losers.
See, I think about it a lot. Like, I have no feeling or emotion towards the Toronto Blue Jays, them or the Orioles. Like, the Rays, their players more bother me, and I'm not even talking about like what they do off the field. Like, when they're eating popcorn and shit, thinking they were like tough guys.
That's some elite haterism. Like, the way they eat popcorn bothers me is elite haterism. I love it. Keep going.
Listen, they fucking lost that series because of it. Like, I will always contend the Red Sox unlocked something in 21 the second they saw the Rays eating popcorn in the middle of a game, and they gave it all away the second Eddie Rodriguez started tapping his watch at Alec Bregman. Like, that was the end of it. That was grand opening, grand closing. It was a hot 14 days. Before Eddie tapped his watch, we couldn't stop hitting grand slams. Every time Shorter came up, the bases were loaded. It was absurd. And then he does that. Not a single hit after that. Just nothing.
Eddie did tap his wrist. I forgot that happened until now. He sure did. He tapped his wrist, and it's like, guys, that celebration is not cool, no matter who does it. Like, it's really not. Like, Carlos Correa's was like the closest.
Yeah, it was.
Everybody else is just like.
No. Oh, it must have been Correa then. Yeah, he didn't do it to Bregman. He did it to Correa.
Yeah,
and it was just like, why? Everything's going so well. The Red Sox pretty much only win World Series based off vibes, and you couldn't have redirected this. Yeah, either they're hammered and down 0-3, or like literally the marathon exploded. Like, we don't win World Series in other ways. And for him to just be like, hey, I can do your thing too. For what? Like, we're about to steal another series. We're going to play the Braves, who no one expects to be here. Nothing, the vibes couldn't be better. And the Astros just locked in. That was cool, thanks.
So you're calling Eduardo Rodriguez Grant Williams?
In a way, yeah. But at least Eddie, like, they weren't supposed to win the World Series. Like, the Celtics were supposed to do more.
Yes. Objectively true, yes.
I'm trying to think what else happens. I feel like there was one more thing.
Scherzer got hurt.
Scherzer did get hurt. And, I mean, it wasn't something I planned on talking about, but I'm glad you brought it up. People have been killing the Angels for buying and catch and release, whatever the fuck that plan was, for doing that. They're killing people like Heim, Cashman for not doing enough. I think they were just more honest with their rosters than anything. You look at the Rangers.
I don't know about that one, buddy. Oh, I'm not speaking for your GM. There was a clear disconnect between the GM and Hal on our end. It was just there's a clear disconnect. But keep going.
I think every move Heim looked into was like, can it help me now and later? I'm not just buying rentals. Like, that's a waste of time.
People just want GMs to make trades just to do them. And some of them are like, no, I'm not going to do it. Like, I'm not going to do shit just to fucking do it.
nothing cooler than when you find out your team's been involved in a trade, especially baseball, because anything truly could have happened. Teams are
Yes.
really
Yes. So
insane when it comes to
yes,
trades.
absolutely. Yes.
um, but Scherzer, everyone killed the Mets for trading Scherzer. Everyone praised the Rangers. And I don't even think you should change your praise of the Rangers. But it's
Mhm.
also a reminder making a trade at the deadline does not guarantee shit. It doesn't
Correct.
guarantee this guy's going to lock in and carry you to a World Series. Like that. It didn't work for the Dodgers when they traded for Scherzer. And I don't think that was a bad trade either. You just can't like I just see so much disproportionate praise and hate for the same moves, like for doing the same thing. And that's what kills me. It's like these are the same thing. One team just admitted it didn't work faster, but teams that buy don't automatically make the playoffs even. So the idea that you have to buy, you have to sell, it bothers me a little bit. Like it's not that these guys are looking at it from 5,000 feet, 10,000, 30, however it's high. I don't really know. They're not looking at it from this is the only season that will ever happen, and that's how a
Right.
lot
Right.
of
Right.
fans act. Like if
Right.
rookies in other sports don't do anything, it's like, well, this wasn't the only. Like they're not canceling football. You understand? There's another season coming up. Like that's how these GMs have to operate, and it's the ones that panic. Even the Reds, I don't really fault. Like, could they have used a pitcher? Sure, but if other teams see how loaded you are with prospects that you don't want to trade for in a year, you know one guy is not going to win it for you. Yeah, why would I do that? Doesn't make any sense.
And like the conversation about selling, and I understand some teams needed to sell or need to sell. I get it, and I'm not here to say every situation is built the same. But like the Yankees, for example, I'm not saying they shouldn't have traded the Harrison Baders of the world. Sure,
Right.
brother, that's C minus prospect that they would have got from. Who could they have gotten somebody and made something out of that person? Sure. Is there any fucking guarantee of that? No. Like, there's no guarantee. Shit, the Mets, I respect what they did at the deadline. Personally, like, if you're out of it, act like it. And they did. Okay.
Be honest. Don't treat your fans like they are stupid. Like, be honest. It's
Right.
no
And
one
they
likes
told you, like,
selling.
yo, we're out of this shit.
Hey,
Like most people, and this is another thing about being a fan of New York. There's this, and I get the reputation. I get it. I get all of the bad that comes with it. I get all of that too. But there's this idea that New Yorkers can't take a rebuild, and I've never understood it. Like, are we the most patient people on earth? No. If you give us a plan and you say, look, we're going to do X, here's where we are, here's where we expect to be, here's where we want to be by whatever, 2, 3 years from now. Most reasonable people, yes, they're the unreasonables, most reasonable will be like, all right, I'm sticking it out. Now, obviously, like you still want to entertain a product, even if it's not going to be great. You want to be entertained, you want to be invested in some way. Like whether it's a whole bunch of young kids, whatever, you want to be invested in some way. Most of us can see it, all right, you got a plan, let's go with it. But then the Mets was like, look, we're not going anywhere. Max Scherzer is 50 years old. Why are we keeping him? For what? That doesn't make any sense. And the jokes came at the Mets' expense when they sent off whatever $40 million to get a better prospect. Why do I care about what Steve Cohen does with his money? I wish the Yankees would do the same thing. Quite frankly, like yes, pay for the prospect. Who cares? It's just money, and it
right.
ain't mine. So
You've
if
already
he
spent
cares
it.
that much
Like
to
you've
pay,
already spent
right?
that money.
If he cares that much to pay the remaining of his fucking contract to get a better prospect, I think that shows he gives a fuck about the product.
It's such a better idea, and I understand you can't do that every time. Not every GM can do that,
Right.
but if he can, yeah, why would you just be like, oh, I'm going to take a shot in the dark at this like
Like I'm
number
gonna take a
16
crappy
prospect?
prospect because I don't want to pay the money that I was gonna pay anyway. Why?
Right.
Like you contrast this with a team that shall remain nameless who traded their best homegrown player of all time to get off of a contract. Like that happened.
And not at the deadline. Like there was no rush to do it. No rush.
Like nobody was forcing them to trade Mookie Betts. It was like, oh here, take him. We don't want him.
Nobody. It was preposterous. But yeah, I just hate the Oh, I love this team, or I love what this team did, and then another team does the same thing. You're like, that was fucking stupid. Like, what? And I don't think New Yorkers are impatient for a rebuild. It's one type of New Yorker, because I mean, you've got the Knicks. They've been rebuilding since Earl the Pearl Monroe was there. Like, they get it. You've got the You've got the Giants. They're either like winning a Super Bowl or rebuilding. Those are the only two things they know what to do. And
Yeah,
right now, after
more or
week
less.
one, looks like they're rebuilding. Uh,
Yes.
the Jets. I mean,
Let's not. Just skip. Skip. Let's not. Skip. Skip.
only
Skip.
rebuilding. Like, that's all
Skip.
they know is
Skip.
rebuilding. That place is packed
Skip.
every Sunday.
Skip.
What we got? The Rangers. They haven't been relevant since what, '94. Like, they can only be rebuilding.
Brother, they made 2 Stanley Cups in like the last 8 years. What are you talking about?
And what have they done? Have they won either of them?
You said relevant. If you make a Stanley Cup, you're relevant.
Listen, the Bruins make the Stanley Cup. They don't usually win it. I don't know that that's how we do it here. No, I mean, Lundqvist was there. They thought, here's what I'll say. I think Rangers fans thought they were more relevant than they ever were. Fair?
I'm not a hockey guy. So you
Me
can
neither.
have that. Like, you can have that.
The Islanders, I know their fans are very passionate. That's the most I know about the Islanders.
I don't know
That's
shit
it.
about the Islanders. Rick DiPietro played for them. That's all I got.
No doubt.
That's
1,000%.
all I got, buddy.
The Yankees, like you said at the top of this show, this is the worst it's ever been for you. Still above 500. Again, I'm just going to assume fourth place team by the time this airs.
Yes.
I don't know that fan base is. If they came out and said we're going to take some time, I don't know that they would love that.
Not loving it and then accepting it are two separate things. You can not love it and then eventually come to grips with it if the plan makes sense and they start now. Well, to throw a monkey wrench in the entire thing, if they say this and then bring Cashman back, you might write. They might write to be fair. So I have to at least throw that in there. If they,
well, it's a huge part of it because Theo
sure.
came to the Cubs and he said we're going to win the World Series in 5 years. Or be in the World Series. I don't know if he said we're going to win it. I think he said we're going to be in the World Series in 5 years. Theo's a crazy guy. He may have put his nuts fully on the table. And what do you know? That was 2011, and they won the 2016 World Series. So a guy like that, you can't just be like, I know for a fact I'm going to win a World Series 5 years out. However, you can announce a plan. The second you stray from the plan, you lose the entire fan base. It's not even about wins and losses at that point. It's about, here's my plan. You have to hit all those steps. Even if you can see that fourth step will not work, you're stuck. Like, you're already fired at that point.
That's true. That's true. Like, it's a delicate process when you are that transparent. That's why a lot of people are not. Like, they're just like, listen, we'll get to where we get to when we need to get there or when we want to get there at our own pace. We don't need to tell you shit. And some people don't like that. I personally don't care. I don't need to know when you want to win. Just do it. I don't give a fuck when you get there. Just fucking do it.
It was 16 when the Yankees did a true sale, right? They traded, what was it, Andrew Miller, Aroldis Chapman,
and Andrew Miller, yes. And
they thought it was a third guy too.
I don't recall if it was. I know that they traded for Clint, and they traded for Glaber. Like, they might have traded a third guy. I don't remember, but. Yeah, and the plan right then was clear. It was like, yo, we are moving in a different direction. We're going younger. Now, with them, how they performed in 17 obviously accelerated the process, and it raised expectations. And then nobody cared because there was no time to be upset. Because the next season, they were like, all right, yo, this Aaron Judge guy is pretty good. Like, everything was fine. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's I feel like Heim's been pretty transparent about his plan. People were off it immediately. People didn't I mean, in 21, perfect example. They kind of do what the Yankees do in 17. They outperform expectations. And people are like, you got to go all in at the deadline. And Heim pretty clearly was like, I'm for sure not going to do that. He traded one pitcher for Kyle Schwarber. People were furious because he was currently hurt. He was currently hurt. If you remember the June he just had, it was like all the other Junes he has. He was unbelievable. I believe he was leading the NL in home runs when we acquired him. Like, it was not a small trade. It just was like not.
I hated it personally. I wasn't a fan.
I hated it because that previous winter I was screaming they should sign him. And so it was like you wouldn't even have trade the fucking player to get this guy, and he would have been contributing all year. But that's neither here nor there. But that's what I mean. The fans, like, Nomar gets traded. And I understand there's different emotional attachment there. He gets traded in 04 at the deadline. People are like, this team, they'll never get it. They win the World Series. Like, it's not always the trade you're so confident about, or it's not always the moves. Like,
I feel like them winning a World Series directly after Nomar got traded made him instantly underrated. Because, like, I feel like we don't talk about Nomar enough personally when we talk about, like,
you don't.
great shortstops.
I hear about Nomar.
Oh, do you? Okay.
All the time.
I don't hear about Nomar, and I have very unpopular opinions with regards to Nomar that Yankee fans really do not like, and I don't say them in public anymore because I once said that, and I damn near didn't make it out of the bar. So, yeah, very unpopular opinions. So, yeah.
Was it that he was the best shortstop in the AL East?
At his peak, he 100% was. And you can clip this. You can put it out there.
No,
don't at me, please. I don't care. Don't at me. Don't at me. I don't care. I said what the fuck I said. At peak, Nomar was better than Jeter. I said what the fuck I said.
He was like staring A-Rod in the eyes, and A-Rod was clearly better than
amazing.
both.
Nomar was amazing, bro. He was incredible at baseball. Incredible. Like, he doesn't get his due, partially because, well, it ended the way it did. And I mean, the game, what was it, July of 04? You know the game I'm talking about, the Jeter in the stands game.
Yeah.
Like, Jeter doing that and Nomar being on the bench, that's an image that's buried in all of our heads. All of us. Like, Yankee fan, Red Sox fan, like, Nomar just sitting there sad as hell on the bench. Can't shake it. Can't shake that image.